Okay, to continue, now we're going to talk about page layout, how to set up your margins, your borders, page breaks, line spacing, stuff like that. I'll start with your margins. It gives you choices of how much margin at the top, at the bottom, on the sides. You get different styles, different spacings, double pages. Just simply click one. And you can customize these if you want. Go to customize and you can set it to 1 inch, half inch, quarter inch, top left, bottom right, however you want to do it. And simply click on margins, click on whatever you want, and it leaves you very little space at the top. If you're writing a large paper, you need a lot of room, you want your margins thin, small, whatever you want. Want a little bigger margin, click on different styles. Orientation is portfolio, landscape, or portrait. Portrait is taller and thinner. Landscaping is wider and not as tall. Size. This depends on what paper you're using. This determines if you're doing a regular size letter paper, 8.5 by 11. Different sizes. Legal paper, 8.5 by 14. Envelopes, stuff like that, you have to choose. Otherwise, if this isn't set right, when you print something out, it's not going to come out right. If you're on a letter size here and you're printing with an envelope, it's going to have a problem, and vice versa. If you're set on envelope and you're doing a letter, you have to make sure that matches. Your columns, you can have one column, you could have 2 columns, 3 columns if you're making brochures and stuff like that. You could have a left column, a right column. We're just going to pick one column for now. Your breaks, that's your page breaks. How you want your page breaks depending on what you're using. Envelopes, even pages, different styles. Line numbers, none, continuous, restart at each page, add your numbers, things like that. Hyphenations, automatic, none, manual, put them in as you want. Watermarks. A watermark is if you're doing a paper and say you're putting it online, but you don't want people to be able to copy it and use it for other things, you can put a watermark across it. See, this one said do not copy, confidential, do not copy. That will appear if they try and print it out. This writing will appear on the paper and people will know that it's not their work. Customize, you can put in here, please do not copy, please do not use, anything like that. Whatever wording you want in there, you can put in there. Page color is pretty good, kind of neat. What it does is it makes the background of the paper different colors. That looks pretty good. Can go through. The only thing about doing page colors like this, it looks good. It accents the paper or the page, or you could do the whole thing or just a section of the paper. The only thing with that is when you print it, you're going to use a lot of ink, so be careful about using background colors like this on your paper. If you're going to print out 10, 15, 20 pages, you don't want a background color. If you're doing just one page and you're only printing one copy, that's fine. You can use the background colors, but just be aware, using background colors, especially the darker colors, the more ink you're going to use. So just be aware of that. Page borders. Your page borders are inside your margins. You have your margins, and then you have your border inside. So if you have, that's none. If you want a box, hit OK. And what that does is it puts a nice line, a nice border around it. And you can also change the thickness of it. You can go here and then you come to style. You can change the design. You want dotted lines, solid lines, color, automatic. You can change the color of your borders. Make it blue, red, any color like that that you want. Hit OK. It changes the color. You can also, the width, half a point, thicker, 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 all the way down. Click OK, and you get your dotted line that are a little thicker. You can have your solid lines, your thickness. Click OK. You got a nice thick border around it. Indents, that's just for your margins, your left and your right margins. You can adjust these up and down. Whatever is highlighted, wherever your cursor is. You can move it in if you want one section a little smaller than the rest. Move this back so you have one paragraph that's indented. Same thing on the right hand side. Select your paragraph. Click it, whatever you want. It brings your right margin over. You can set that at anything you want. Spacing, that's before and after. Up and down, you go to after. Click on the bottom. After. However much spacing you want. Aligning, that just aligns your text to the edge, multiple selection objects, things like that. Let's go into references. On your reference page, you can add text, update tables. If you have a table in it, the current document doesn't contain any tables. But if you had a table like we had showed you in some of the previous videos, you can go to update your table, add to them, change your figures, things like that. Insert an end note at the bottom. See, it starts with number 1. You can put a little note. If you're doing biographies, stuff like that, you have to reference authors and things like that. Do references 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you need down there. Show notes. It'll show notes if you put any notes in there. Insert citation. A citation is from what book, the author, title, year, city, publisher. If you want to add any of that in there, you can add that. You could add that to the bottom with your notes. Biographies, if you're doing biographies. Same thing. You can put your biography, words cited, where you got it from, references, all that can be inserted here. Insert table figures, that's kind of the same thing as updating your tables. Cross references, we talked about that in the previous video with hyperlinks and things like that. Insert indexed, you can do your indexing however you like it. Table contents, table figures. Indent, run into, columns, you can change your columns here. Mailings. Mailings is if you're going to do a large amount of mailings to people. Say you have to send out a flyer or a brochure. You want to do mailings, you can set up your envelope. You can put delivery address, return address. You can keep this and save your return address so you don't have to enter it every time you're printing an envelope. You can hit preview. It'll show you what your envelope's going to look like. Remember, if you're printing out on envelopes, you have to go back to your page layout. Go back to your page layout and you have to set your size. Make sure you set it to an envelope and not paper. Back to mailings. Start mailing merger, letters, whatever you type in, envelopes, labels. You can make a label. You can print out labels like your return address. You can print out 10 or 20 or 25 labels so you can just stick them on the envelope instead of typing in your return address all the time. Recipient, type new list. You can make a list of all the people you're mailing to. And then once you get your list completed, if you're sending out, like say you send out once a month, you send out a letter to everyone in your community for an update. What's going on in the community, what's going on in the town, what's going on in your local church or local business. If you have a business and you send a mailing out once a month or every couple months to the same people, you can use this here to make a list of all the people with their addresses and all the stuff you need. And instead of typing in all that information every time, you just go to your list, select from the list. I don't have a list, so I really can't show you what it looks like, but just go to the list, click select list or OK, whatever the prompt says, and then when you print, it'll automatically print each one of those addresses out, and you don't have to duplicate everything every time you want to send a mailing. And review, it's just simply reviewing what you've done. If you want to add new comments, you want to add research. Theses is words that are similar. It's like a dictionary. You can type in a word or highlight a word and hit theses, and it'll give you other words with the same meanings. Over here you can type in a word. It'll give you a list of words you can choose from. Maybe something you're looking for, a specific word, something a little stronger than that word, or maybe a word not as strong as the word you're using. You can find similar words that mean the same on different levels. Translate, that means translate to different languages. Your translator, you can type in a word, you type in a phrase, you can type in a paragraph, you can copy and paste a paragraph, translate it, add it to your paper. Spell check. Well, it didn't find any problems. Spell check, make sure you do your spell check before you print anything. Print it out and then proofread it, and then you find there's a misspelled word. You got to go back and change it, and then you got to print out again. You're going to end up wasting a lot of ink and paper, so make sure you do your spell check and grammar check first. If, like this one, if you see a green line under it, they're questioning your grammar, the wording of the sentence. Maybe there's a word in there you need to change, or maybe you need to reorganize the sentence, stuff like that. If it's highlighted, or it'll have a different color line on it if it's misspelled, things like that. So watch out for that before you print it out and waste all your ink and paper. You can track changes, which means when you start a paper, like this paper, if I want to track all the changes I've done since we've been doing this video, I can click track changes, and it'll put a little mark next to everything I changed. It'll have a column on the side with a line going through the sentence or the word or anything I added. What else we have here? Yeah, that's all tracking stuff. Markup, reviewing panes, accept, reject, previous, next. Changes, that just keep track of your changes. If you want to save them, you can accept it, and it will keep track of it. Reject a certain part of the paper, say one page you don't want to keep track of any changes. You can preview the changes. Next, go to the next page. Compare, you could compare before your changes to after your changes, things like that. Protect document, you can protect the document so people can't change it. You can make it read only, so people that are looking at it can only read it. They can't make changes to it or delete it or send it to someone that might want to use it, things like that. Your page protect documents. And view, just different views you can have. Page layout will actually show you what it's going to look like when it's completed after printed. Full screen reading, you can click on full screen and it'll enlarge a page so you can read it a little better, see how your layout is. Web layout, if you have a web page and you're going to put something on a web page, this will show you what the layout will look like. Outline, draft, things like that. Show, hide, thumbnails, document map, rulers. You can show the ruler, hide the ruler. Guidelines, things like that. If you want a graph in there, grid lines, you can add grid lines, you can hide them, uncheck them. Zoom, you can zoom into a section, 1 page, 2 pages. Page width, 100%, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. You can open a new window, things like that. Not too much in here you're really going to change. More of a review, look through, references. That just about covers Microsoft Word basics. From here, we will go to actually doing a project. We can go in and do pamphlets, we can do flyers. If you need to print out bulletins, memos, things like that. If you lost your dog and you need to print out flyers to hang up, we can show you how to do things like that. And that's it. Any suggestions? We'll take any suggestions you have. Anything you want to talk about, a specific flyer, or how to do pamphlets with a triple fold, double fold, 3 columns, stuff like that. Feel free, like I said, you can email me. On the top of the page there's a contact us. You can just put in your name and email address and a comment on what you want to talk about. Or on the top of the page you can click on my forum and go into the forum, and you can leave a comment there or a suggestion there, and we can talk about it from there. If you go to the forum, it's nice because other students that are enrolled in beginner class, as like yourself, you can talk back and forth with other people. You can compare notes, add suggestions, all kinds of things like that. I hope this was useful, and thank you.